Hello everyone, Coach Amaka here for Trauma Healing and Recovery, and I still go by Amaka BK. For those who know me as Amaka BK, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. Thanks for stopping by, and please don't make this the last time that you visit. Share our content, comment, ask your questions, and please subscribe and follow for more because there's always more tea coming. I find that oftentimes people are uncomfortable, and I say extremely uncomfortable to review and revisit their past. Baby girl, that's your past. That's your story. That's your history. You see, don't be ashamed of your own personal story and your journey. Many things and many times that we are ashamed of our own story and our journey because we think there's no glamour in it, there's no fancy anything about our story, there's no cute element of our story. We do not understand that we are actually not responsible for our story. I tell you the truth. Until the age of maybe, I would say, a decent 25 years old, any decisions, any choices, any life experiences that might have occurred with you in it or in the center of it before the age 25 were likely someone else's decision on your life. Likely, highly likely. Someone made you do it. It can be your parents, it can be your guardians, it may be your siblings, it may be your friends, your close friends or closest friends. It may be the circumstances surrounding your condition of living, the environment where you lived or where you were raised or where you're growing up or where your life encompassed. And it might also be someone that you got into a relationship with. You know how we do the first sets of people that we get to know as partners, either boyfriend or girlfriend. Sometimes they made the decision for us, and don't forget that we all grew up as having our peers, and there is no stronger influence for a growing person than their peers. So there are times people start smoking at a certain age because they saw their friends smoking and they wanted to feel cool. So they took the stick, they lit the stick, and they tried to do a puff. So don't forget that the life you are ashamed of reliving, not reliving, but reviewing, or revisiting, was really not your decision. They were not your choices. These things were circumstantial. So why are you ashamed to talk about your past? What's in your past that was your choice, your making, your decision, your intentions? They weren't. So what are you ashamed of? Your father was a jerk. So you talk about the jerk that your father was or is, if he's still alive. Or your mother was, a careless mother. You talk about them. They were irresponsible. It was their job to guide you, to love you, to treat you, to show you what the world is, or, to prepare you for the world. But instead, they didn't do their due diligence with you. They didn't do their duty of care. They were negligent. They were probably focusing on other things. Some women were focusing on the men in their lives, chasing after men, and abandoned the care of their children. Some women chased career and left the children on the sideline. And likewise, some men. And there were people who were just not maternal. The father could not be a father. He didn't learn to be a father. It's not his thing. But he didn't have a way to communicate it. So what did he do? Relinquish his care and responsibility to his children on the mother. And the mother suffered through her own traumas and her own whatever. Listen, a lot of us are also carrying the traumas of our parents. Are you aware of that? That some parts of your trauma is actually coming from your mother. Not some, actually a huge portion of your trauma comes from your mother. If your mother was a pick-me, if your mother was a weakling, if your mother was a careless person, if your mother was an irresponsible or is an irresponsible person, do you know that you carry that trauma too? You carry that incompetency within you. Did you know that? Yes, you don't know that. And that's why I got to tell you. You carry the incompetencies of your mother. Because why? You carry her blueprint. Mm-hmm. Have you forgotten that an acorn does not fall far from its tree? An apple does not produce any other fruits, an apple tree does not bear any other fruits but apples. That's right. Likewise, orange. Likewise, guava. So you really think that if your mother was a guava tree, you will become an apple? You can only become an apple after you have self-acknowledged. You have self-assessed. You have become self-aware. And then you begin to work intentionally on yourself so that you don't be your mother in your own life's journey. That's when you begin to realize that the way you sound sometimes, the way you raise your voice, the way your tone changes, or the way you sound weak or allow people to walk all over you was because of your mother. It was the weakness of your mother that you're carrying, or the arrogance of your mother that you're carrying, or the wickedness of your mother that you're carrying. If she's uncompassionate, she could never be compassionate with anybody. She don't care who is living and who is dying. She don't give two shits about nobody. All she cares is herself. She's very self-centered. Did you not know that if a self-centered woman raises you and you're not very cautious, and you're not very smart and intelligent, and you're not self-aware, you're going to be also a self-centered individual, and you will never see anything wrong with it because that's all you know. That's all you've known. That's all you knew to do, or you've known all your life. That's right. Am I digressing? I hope not. So back to the don't be ashamed to tell your story. That's your reality. That's no movie set. That's no movie script. That's no acting. Don't be ashamed to tell your story. If you have been raped as a child, you have been essayed as a child, you have been molested as a child, you have been sexually harassed as a child or as an adult or any time of your life, whether you're a man or a woman, don't be ashamed to talk about it. You are not alone. You can never be alone. You are just the voice of a demographic that is not well talked about, not well acknowledged or discussed or not well represented or not well advocated for. You can be the voice that advocates for people like you. And that is why I'm the voice that advocates for people like me, people who met their woes in marriage, people who became divorced not by their choice, but by the wickedness that they got into, hoping and thinking that they were building a life with a human being, whereas they were building a life with someone who hates them, hates their guts, someone who is a narcissist and or a psychopath, someone who don't mind to give their blood to anybody to suck just for them to feel great, someone who never hold themselves accountable, someone who will never be responsible to his own children or to his spouse, someone who only knows how to be wicked and mean-spirited and evil and a genius witch and wizard to their spouse. That is why I'm lending my voice to help you get the healing that you desire and deserve, to help you navigate life and find yourself and become the strongest version of yourself, to become the person that will now understand and recognize patterns and never want to repeat them, to become the person who recognizes their own personal patterns in choosing their own mates, and not to become too and not to and to no longer be too much what's it called again? Sentimental or empathetic to the point where they get abused, where they get taken advantage of, and where they get mistreated. A lot of women are good women, but they were paired up with bad men. A lot of men are good men. They were paired up with bad women. And what does that do to you? Do you understand what that does to you? It does a whole lot of damage, internally and externally. And it takes a while. So that's why when the damage you have encountered came from somebody else, came as a result of your how do I put it? Your proximity to somebody else, your encounter of somebody else, their access to you, their manipulative influence on you. When that is your reality, and that's how you got into destruction or self-destruction or internal destruction and internal sabotaging, self-sabotaging, you have to learn that the most important thing for you is to heal. The person who put you in that condition is also watching that you don't heal. That's what you don't know. They are watching that you don't heal. And if they see that you don't heal, what do you think will happen? They will be happy. Because now the smear that they have told about you, the blackmailing that they have blackmailed you, the name calling and the branding that they have branded you becomes true. It becomes the truth because you didn't know how to counter people's lies on your life. So you have to now leave the lies that they told. And then you hope that when you get to heaven, when you die, for those of them looking for heaven, you have not lived life in this life. You're going to heaven. Is that where you're going to live it? That's where you're going to have the courage, the confidence, the enablement to explore and live the life that you hope. No, ma'am. No, sir. That doesn't work like that. You heal here. Prove them wrong here. Rebrand yourself here and now. Reintroduce yourself here and now. Stop carrying the weight of trauma and bitterness. Stop carrying the weight of self-hurt and damage and self-sabotaging. You're really sabotaging. That's what you don't realize. You're canceling yourself out of good opportunities and good people and good breaks and good energies because you're still carrying the bitterness and weight of someone else's what's it called? Interpretation of who you are. Let you be the word and the voice to tell the world who you are. And even if you're not telling the world, tell yourself who you are. Don't be ashamed to accept and tell your own story. That's your history. God already knows that. So who are you shying away from? Who are you? Nobody has the key to judge you. And if they judge, it's just mere talking, mere sound. That don't make no sense. God does not listen to their talking to bless you or to curse you. God does not take permission from anybody to be anything to you. And just because you have a 9-to-5 job, your job is solid, your job is stable, your job is whatever, does not mean that that's the blessing of God. That's just an iceberg of what God can do for you. If you allow yourself to come out of your shell, God will take you as a clay and he will mold you into a wonderful piece of art, a masterpiece that will be highly prized and with no negotiations. But it's up to you. 26 and above, ma'am, sir, you hold the key to your own life. Anything that happened to you before the age 25 has someone else to blame. Can be your parents, your guardians, your auntie, uncle, closest proximity, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your siblings. your best cousin, your favorite friend, your neighborhood, any circumstance that is more domineering, any peer pressure, any peer, any exposure to any kind of, it could even be religion that made that choices for you, that conditioned your mind, that wind you to believe in that lie, and then you fell for it, or you were not cautious enough, or you were not smart enough, or you were just so, because yes, a lot of religion make you inhibited. They inhibit you. So the times that you should stand up for yourself, you can't stand up for yourself. You can't even articulate. You cannot advocate for yourself. You're just a weakling. You're a pushover. You want to be liked. Everybody can walk all over you. You're a doormat. All you do is yes, sir, yes, sir. Yes, ma, yes, ma. That's all you do. I'm going to leave it at this, but there's something else I wanted to say. A point to note. Once upon a time, I was going to join the police force in Ontario. During the orientation, we were advised that the process takes about 2 years. By this time, you would have done your physical test passed, you've done some other tests passed, and then you go for the training, which will last for 3 months. And after that, you do many other things before they get to investigating you joining the force. And they would investigate you down to your mother's placenta. And that is to say, they will find out who your parents are, who their own parents were, your siblings, and the life that you have lived since the day you were born. All the addresses that you have maintained, where you were born, where you were raised, where you attended elementary and high school, where you attended college if you have one, where you have lived if you have had a spouse and children or whatever. They would go even down to your neighborhood, to your streets where you live, and they will ask about you. The investigation runs deep and broad. So if there's any life you have lived that is not well thought out, you can be dismissed for that. Even you can be dismissed for your siblings. Very rarely though. You can also be dismissed heavily for your parents, the life your parents have chosen to live, the type of parents that you have had. So you can be dismissed for the friends you keep, for the life you've led up until that moment, and for the sake of your parents or your siblings. So, what does that tell you? Everyone has a history. Your history tells you the life that you have lived or the life that you have been exposed to. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, nor to be scared of. Mind you, they are in your past, so you can feel free to talk about them. You're no longer living that past. Essentially, when you're working on your healing, what your healing does to you, or healing journey does to you, is to face your fears, your wounds, your most sensitive and most vulnerable life or past, most sensitive and most vulnerable past that you are scared to face only because of the way it makes you feel. It makes you feel ashamed. It makes you feel sad. It makes you feel bitter. It makes you feel broken. It makes you feel weak. It makes you feel overcome. It makes you feel hopeless. And it makes you hate yourself because you didn't stand up for yourself where you should have. You didn't make the right choices. You missed the timeline. You were too naive and too what's it called? My words keep flying away from my head. You were too obnoxious, but unaware. There's another word I'm trying to find, but it's not coming. You got it. Okay. So when you are oblivion, that's right, that's the word. When you are oblivion, a lot of things can happen. When you are naive, because when you're oblivion, you become naive, and there are times too that you trust people out of the blue. You don't have any you don't have any any what's it called? Metrics that you use to trust people. You just trust people on face value, right? And that's when they say you're naive. And you're only naive because you're oblivious too. You're oblivious of what's going on. You don't really know what's going on. You're under the rocks, or you're too young, or you're too dumb, or your interest is like too slay queen. So you don't care. You got it? Yeah, a lot can happen. But mind you, when you grow, you learn, and sometimes we learn through our own mistakes and failures. We learn through our own weaknesses and our overextending of our grace to people who don't deserve it, the time that we spend with people that don't deserve it, the money and patience we spend towards those people that don't deserve it. You know, patience is money too. It's big money, it's virtue. But we don't talk about it very much. So again, don't be ashamed of what you have been through. You might also be carrying your parents' shame and woes and irresponsibilities and incompetencies and their traumas and weaknesses, because your parents also had their own childhood traumas that are not even being discussed. Nobody talks about it because they grew up in the era where they are told to suck it up and like keep going. So you don't have to live and relive the lifestyle that your parents lived. They didn't have the opportunity that we have today. Some of them didn't have the opportunity of proper education, higher education, travel, nor the internet. So use what we have as a systemic possibilities to better your life and your outcomes, right? Take your time to make a good decision. Take the time, take the whole week to think about it, rethink, review, revisit it, reanalyze it, put it apart and analyze every element of it separately. And then take your sweet little time to come up with that final decision that sink or swim, you have no regrets. Stop jumping into, following the crowd or taking things for face value or no. The time can wait. Because the decision you make today, if they are not good, you become the byproduct. Your results tomorrow and you become the byproduct of that decision you've made today. So decisions are not something you make casually. Someone is forcing you and rushing you to make that decision. Take time. Put it on pause. Don't rush by other people's timeline. Take your own full timeline and guidance. The spirit that's leading you and working for you and opening doors for you is not the same as the one that's leading them. Your spirit might be slower than their spirit. Maybe the spirit guiding them is faster, so they can make fast and quick decisions, but you cannot. Learn your own self and stand 10 toes on who you truly are. That's your identity. Don't allow other people's unfounded interests to push you into something that you will live to regret, because the trauma is yours and yours alone. When you start dealing with the trauma that would come from that one failure or another failure based on your own decisions and hasty choices, nobody's going to carry that cross with you. Nobody. Listen, my mom made me marry my trauma. When it became trauma, when it became evident that that's a trauma, you know what my mom did? She denied me. My mother, she denied me. So anybody can deny you. Because why? You made hasty decision by other people's choices and interests. They were not even serving your own best interests. And that's how they will deny you. Need I say more? Use your tongue to count your teeth. Follow for more and please subscribe and please share our content and comment and ask questions and we talk more, okay?